We're cracking open a cooler full of memories. 10 beers that once lived on corner bar taps, in garage fridges, and on Friday night tables. Some were regional legends, others national fixtures. A few helped change American beer forever. From 10 to 1, see how many you remember, and which ones take you right back. 10. Oated Bastard, Ale Stone Brewing. Before craft beer went mainstream, Arrogant Bastard dared you to be worthy. The oaked variant, an early to mid-2000s twist, softened the bite with vanilla, toast, and tannin from oak, not bourbon barrels. It took that big, resinous 7%-ish American strong ale and layered in smoothness without sanding off its attitude. Shelves carried it in bombers, bars poured it for the regular who knew what they wanted. When Stone spun the brand into Arrogant Brewing, the oaked version faded from year-round life and became more of a rotating relic. For early craft fans, it was a milestone, proof that oak wasn't just for wine and stout, and that bold could still be balanced. 9. Orton Linus Beer. Philly's blue-collar lager, born in the late 1000s, 860s from a family brewery that weathered prohibition on near beer and soft drinks. Ortlieb's wasn't fancy, it was familiar. The red O felt like a neighborhood seal, the kind of bottle you'd find at a backyard cookout or a smoky corner bar where the bartender knew your order. As national brands muscled in, Ortlieb's production slipped away in the early 80s. The name popped back up via contract brews for a time, and the old brewery's legacy lived on in local lore and a music venue bearing the family name. For Philadelphians of a certain age, poppin' in Ortlieb's was as much about place as taste. 8. Pjal's Beer. Founded in 1880s Brooklyn, Pjal's pulled a trick few beers did. It made people laugh. Bert and Harry Pjal, voiced by comedy duo Bob and Ray, became ad legends in the 1950s and early TV years, hapless brewery owners who made Pjal's feel warm, witty, and welcome everywhere. The beer itself was the archetypal New York lager, light, crisp, uncomplicated. As the city's brewing scene contracted in the 1970s, the Bushwick plant closed and the brand bounced between owners and contract facilities. Pjal's never fully found its footing again, but the commercials and the easygoing pint behind them stuck in memory like a jingle you can't shake. 7. Hoodepole Beer. Cincinnati's Hootie was more than a beer. It was a city soundtrack. Founded in the 1880 Sona, Hoodepole kept the faith through Prohibition and post-war change, then rode the 70 Sona with Hootie Delight and 14K. In the Bengals' Hootie era, special cans and bar signs turned it into a game day ritual. The company merged with Schoenling in the 80s, Little Kings fans, you know, and decades later, local stewardship helped revive the old name. Ask a Cincinnatian what Hootie tastes like, and you'll get more than tasting notes. You'll get stories of chili parlors, riverfront summers, and football Sundays where the garage fridge was never empty. 6. Meisterbrau. Chicago's workaday lager left a giant footprint. Peter Hand Brewing shepherded Meisterbrau through mid-century bars and bowling leagues, but the real bombshell was a lighter offshoot. When Miller bought the brands in the early 70s, Meisterbrau Light evolved into Miller Lite, the beer that made light mainstream and rewrote the American beer playbook. The original Meisterbrau soldiered on under various owners, but its legacy is the category it helped birth. If you've ever ordered a light beer at a ball game, you've toasted Meisterbrau, whether you knew it or not. 5. Stroh's Signature Beers, Pre-1 and 8S. Detroit Stroh's built its name on fire-brewed lagers, bohemian-leaning, crisp with a clean snap that fit a hard-working city. Before the acquisition spree of the early 80s, Stroh's signature labels had a distinct, steady profile you could count on in returnable long necks at neighborhood bars and on front porches. The family company grew fast, Schaefer 1 year, Schlitz the next, and quality perceptions got tangled as brewing scattered. But ask anyone who grew up in Detroit before all that, and they'll tell you, a cold Stroh's was the taste of Motown summers and Union Hall winters, poured with pride from copper kettles and passed around like a handshake. 4. National Bohemian, original brew, from the land of pleasant living. If you know the line, you know Natty Bo. Baltimore's home beer, launched in the 1880s, wore Mr. Bo's winking face like a city crest. The original lager, brewed in Maryland, was the easy drinking reward after a day on the water, a shift at Sparrows Point, or an O's game doubleheader. When ownership changes shuttered local brewing in the late 70s, the brand lived on. But the brew by the Bay era became memory. Today, Bo is still beloved in cans and merch, but for those who remember the original, it's the taste of crab feasts, row house stoops, and a skyline seen through neon. 3. Schaefer beer. The one beer to have when you're having more than one. Schaefer's jingle defined an era, and the beer backed it up. Light enough for the long haul, sturdy enough to feel like a real pint. Founded in the 1840s, Schaefer grew into a Northeast powerhouse with a massive modern brewery in Pennsylvania and its name on a certain Foxborough football stadium in the 70s. It wasn't craft, and it wasn't trying to be. It was the reliable lager in the ice bucket at clam bakes and block parties, poured a million times without a second thought. When the family sold in the early 80s, the brand carried on under new owners, but that jingle still does the heavy lifting in our heads. 2. Rheingold beer. New York's hometown beer wore a glamour like a crown, literally. The Miss Rheingold contest, a cultural phenomenon from the 1940s into the 60s, turned a local lager into a citywide ritual. You voted at the deli, you argued on the stoop, and you cracked a Rheingold while talking about who should win. The beer was classic bright lager, clean, brisk, built for pastrami and ball game. As consolidation picked off the city's breweries, Rheingold shuttered in the 70s. The name has resurfaced over the years, but the legend lives in black and white photos, subway ads, and the memory of a beer that felt as New York as a paper cup of coffee at dawn. 1. Falstaff beer. The rise and fall of mid-century American beer in one name. Falstaff took a St. Louis heritage and built it into a coast-to-coast giant, peaking as the nation's third largest brewer by the 1960s. It was the archetypal American lager, honest, affordable, everywhere, poured in VFW halls, fishing cabins, and factory parking lots after the whistle. Acquisitions, including Ballantine in the early 70s, legal battles, and shifting tastes slowly unraveled the empire. By the 2000s, Falstaff had faded from shelves, but not from memory. If your grandfather had a favorite beer, odds are he had a Falstaff phase. It's the number one here because it symbolizes the era when a cold, uncomplicated lager was the American handshake. How many did you recognize? Which one takes you back? Drop your stories in the comments. Garage fridges, game days, bowling nights, and all. And if you want a part 2 with Lost Light beers, cream ales, or regional stouts, hit like and subscribe.